This story begins with a dream that every man once dreamt of. You, alone, by yourself, against a horde of enemies. Like the long black spiky hair man, who stood alone against an entire horde of warriors holding various weapons, all aimed to kill him. The lone man chooses to face them with 2 battle axes in his hands. As he raised his mighty axes, the mighty man slays each and every one of the warriors that came to kill him, cutting and tearing them apart with red fiery in his eyes and without mercy. As he lets out a ferocious cry on the battlefield, we come to know this man as a barbarian, born as a warrior, raised as a warrior. Barbarians were a clan that considers it an honor to end life on the battlefield. In this situation, it turns out that the man was protecting someone, as he shouts Evelyn, telling her that he was going to buy them some time and to prepare the spell they needed. The woman understood clearly what the man wanted as she held onto a young child whose eyes were completely focused on the barbarian. His face was filled with shock, knowing that the man in front of him was his father, the most honorable warrior, watching him cut down the endless foes coming for them. Even in the most dire situation, betrayed by his tribe, the young boy's father continued to fight to the end for his family. But then, every story must have an ending, as the warriors who fought against his father managed to stab him multiple times in the stomach with their spears. The father, the most fierce barbarian, still manages to hold on, spilling blood from his mouth as he leans over in pain over the stabbing. The young boy calls out to his father with concern, while Evelyn holds him back, saving him from the incoming danger. Even with spears plunged into his body, the father didn't give up. He continued to swing his mighty axe at those coming for his family, shouting at them that they don't have a chance in hell. The mighty barbarian, filled with wounds and bleeding from his cuts, continues to slay down endless amounts of enemies. While he does this, Evelyn starts to chant the words to the spell as quickly as she could while holding the young boy. Before long, a bright green pillar of light shines down upon them. The young boy was confused by what was going on as he was lifted in the air and into the green pillar of magic. Evelyn tells him that he should be somewhere else. Anywhere else in the Starlands would be better than where they were right now. With a sad teary smile, she tells Aiden, the name of the young boy, to survive for them. As the green pillar of light started to pull him away from her, Aiden started to call her mother, telling her that he was too scared to be alone, but as he did, his father shouted at him, calling him, "My son Aiden. Become strong, strong enough to lose nothing, strong enough that no one can touch you. And make sure you survive," were the last words Aiden's father said to him with a smile on his face. Tears started to stream down Aiden's face as he told his father that he understood his words. In his eyes of his father facing death, there was no regret or fear in them, only pride as a barbarian. And that was the last time we saw the mighty barbarian. Now, the scene changes to your typical group of bullies, making fun of their latest victims, calling him a loser from a rich family. Not wasting any time, the bullies tell the victim to quickly remove his bag and watch to give it to them. The young boy kneeling in front of us this time is called Kim Jintae, a third-year student at Yahello High School. His sole characteristic is that he is a silver spoon, a person who has lived a privileged life. Even though he was facing a group of bullies, Jintae tells them that they shouldn't bully him as something bad was going to happen to them. Hearing that, the bully starts to walk towards him, laughing over what he said and replying to him that he was the one that was going to have a bad time, but Jintae continues to warn them, saying that his friend was going to be here soon. Annoyed by that response about his friend, the bully grabs onto his head, hoping to slap some sense into him about his current situation. But before he could do anything, the bully was sent flying into a nearby wall with bricks flying everywhere. The other bullies were confused by what was going on, and could see that the wall had suddenly exploded. As soon as they looked at what was on the other side of the wall, they were greeted with a voice, asking Jintae if he was alright. A huge man with red eyes appeared on the other side of the wall, his fist raised up after destroying the wall in a single punch. It turns out to be Aiden. After a huge transformation called puberty, he looks at the group of bullies, calling them guys with no manners. Aiden was also a third-year student at Yahello High School. The group of bullies had to look up to Aiden, confused about his size, who he was, and how it was possible for him to punch through the wall so easily. Aiden simply grabs the closest bully by his collar, raising his fist, and telling him that he was simply Jintae's friend, before teaching him a lesson he would never forget. After the lesson, the two boys continued to walk their own way. Jintae couldn't help but praise Aiden for being incredible because this time, he punched through a concrete wall, making him question if Aiden was actually a human being, which causes the barbarian to flinch. He stutters in his responses, trying to convince him that he was in fact human, when in truth, it had been 10 years since he came to Earth. But his answer wasn't strong enough, as Jintae always questioned if Aiden was truly human, making Aiden think that he was constantly giving off barbarian vibes. Back at home, even after eating 5 massive rice bowls, the elderly man in front of Aiden was surprised over why he was eating so little. But Aiden was more concerned about the elderly man, calling him grandpa as he wondered why he was eating so little. His grandpa simply tells him that he's old, and that his digestion wasn't good, but watching him eat so much was making him full instead. It turns out that grandpa would always say this to Aiden, and this was the person who he was the most grateful to in this world. Grandpa was the one who took in a barbaric boy with nowhere to go, and raised him without asking for anything in return. As they continued to eat dinner together, Grandpa informs Aiden that Coach Park had called earlier on, asking if he was going to be a boxer. Pushing even more rice into his mouth, Aiden tells Grandpa that he wasn't going to be an athlete, shocking the old man as he wonders why. After all, Grandpa knew that Aiden had won every award for every sport he had tried in the past. But to Aiden, winning couldn't be helped. After all, barbarians and humans were different species even though they looked similar. When Aiden participates in sports, it would be nothing short of cheating, violating the spirit of fair play. He knew how much his decision would hurt Grandpa, because there was only one path for a barbarian, and that is the path of the warrior. Not by doing sports like most humans do, but having bloody battles against worthy opponents, just like his father in his final moments. But there was an issue with Aiden's plan, as he sat outside the house, and that was because Earth was too damn peaceful for him. As he sat outside the house, Grandpa was watching the news, complaining about what was going on, drawing Aiden's attention. The news was reporting that the government has stated that they are conducting a thorough investigation into the unidentified disaster that occurred in Cheongju. Curious about what was going on, Aiden comes into the house, asking Grandpa about what was going on. He explains to the young barbarian that there has been an accident in Cheongju, and that the death toll has already surpassed 120. There were also mentions of monsters appearing somewhere, making it look like the end of times. As Aiden continued to watch the news, they revealed additional footage about the incident that has been released. The reporter announces that there have been new life forms spotted in the area, advising citizens near the area to be careful. An image of a monster-like deer with 3 eyes and even sharper horns was caught on film. Seeing the monster-like deer on the screen, Aiden starts to tremble as his grandpa tells him to come and sit beside him to watch the news. But our boy declines, telling him that he needed to go out for a bit with a grim expression on his face. The scene then changes to a car moving solo on a highway. Aiden appears in the backseat of the car, thanking Jintae for driving him to where he wanted to go. Thinking back to the news footage of the unknown life form, Aiden knew that it was exactly as he remembered seeing the same creature when he was a child, and thought that it might be connected to the world he used to live in. Soon enough, the boys came to a stop. As they left the car, they could see numerous people, ranging from hunters to police officers, all stuck at the entrance of a tunnel. Jintae recalled that he had heard about how people mentioned that there was a disaster, as he could feel that the atmosphere was intense as there were even soldiers here. Seeing all of this, Aiden was sure that they were at the disaster area. As they were watching what was going on, another person appeared, complimenting Aiden on his extremely well-built and muscular body. 2 guys with weird smiles on their faces approached the boys, asking Aiden about the group he was with. Looking at his normal clothes, the man offers Aiden a card, telling him to call him if he was interested in joining their group. Staring at the card in his hand, Aiden wonders if a group was a type of guild where warriors gather. The man laughs over what Aiden said, calling him a guy with a great sense of humor, unaware that Aiden actually meant what he said. The man corrects him, saying that they were more like workers, developing planets, rather than warriors, and assures him that if he joins his group, then he wouldn't regret it. After hearing the real purpose behind the group, Aiden rips the card into pieces, declining the offer and telling the man that being a worker would be shameful for a warrior. Seeing his precious name card ripped into pieces, the man explodes in anger, insulting Aiden about being a warrior and for daring to refuse the new Star Development's offer. Seeing him speak ill of the way of the warriors, Aiden started to get fired up as well, asking the man if he was insulting the warriors right now. But before the two of them could prove who was right, something starts to happen at the entrance of the tunnel, drawing their attention. A purple glowing light started to shine upon everyone, and when they saw this happening, they grabbed their equipment, shouting at one another to get ready as the event was starting. Jintae started to panic over what was happening, wondering what it was. On top of Youngam Tunnel, a black sphere appears, with a message saying the End Times trial will now begin. Aiden looks at the message, reading the words End Times in a panicked state. Soon enough, the black sphere started to open up, the message telling everyone that the end of the world is approaching Earth, and that the planet of rest called Nova is willing to extend a helping hand to Earth's people. As the black sphere shoots a purple beam of light, destroying everything in its path in front of Aiden and Jintae, the message tells them to escape through the portal to Nova. The next thing that happened was a bright pillar of purple light shining down upon a random forest. We see our boys with two different expressions on their faces in a new place. Jintae, grabbing his head in disbelief over what had just happened to them, wonders where they are now. His first action was to punch Aiden repeatedly, telling him to take responsibility over what happened to them since it was his idea that brought him here. But more importantly, Jintae was pissed over losing his brand new car that he had just gotten from his father. In the middle of his punches, a message started to appear in his face. It tells him that he had an objective, which was to obtain 1 goblin coin. Completing the objective would grant him a novice class change. As Jintae wonders what the End Times trial message board was all about, Aiden calls out to him, telling him to look somewhere else. In front of the two young boys stood a group of goblins, each of them holding a wooden club. Jintae wonders what's up with those monsters, whose faces were filled with excitement as they licked their lips, as if they were looking at the boys as their meal ticket. Panic started to set into Jintae as he slowly realized that the system wanted them to catch those monsters, which still doesn't make sense to him. While he was in a panic state, Aiden rushes forward, towards the group of monsters without hesitation. As he ran to them with all his might, a smile could be seen on his face. Aiden was actually excited over this opportunity, as he always wanted to find out how strong he really was as he knees the first monster right in its ugly face, sending it flying through the forest in a single blow. As the monsters attempted to fight back, Aiden could feel the blood flowing throughout his body boiling. He was insanely excited. Clenching his fist tightly till veins popped out, Aiden could sense his barbarian instincts telling him something. Without missing a single beat, he beats each of the monsters easily, excited over the fight, as he shouts to the world, "Bring on the end times or whatever." This was finally the chance the young barbarian had wanted, the chance to finally become the warrior he dreamed of.
Thanks for watching the latest part from the voice of Manhwa. Subscribe for more content and don't forget to comment below what you want to see in the future. Like and share for more.